My name is Daniel Cross, 34 years old, a financial analyst, married for 6 years to a woman I thought I knew. I've always been the careful one, the person who reads contracts twice, who keeps spreadsheets for household expenses, who plans 5 years. My wife Claire used to call it endearing, back when she still pretended to appreciate the stability I provided. I believed in systems, in structure, in the idea that if you build something carefully enough, it can't collapse. I was wrong about that. I was wrong about a lot of things. But I learned quickly once the cracks started showing. The panic in her voice sounded so genuine. I almost didn't question it. Tuesday afternoon, 2:47 p.m. My phone vibrated against my desk with Claire's name flashing across the screen. I answered, expecting her usual lunch hour check-in, the mundane exchange about dinner plans or weekend errands. Instead, I heard crying raw, gasping, the kind that makes your chest tighten reflexively. Daniel. Her voice cracked around my name. I'm at St. Mary's emergency room. Something's wrong. They're running tests. I'm scared. My coffee went cold in my hand. The spreadsheet on my screen blurred into every rational thought narrowed to a single point. My wife was in the hospital, alone, terrified. I grabbed my jacket, told my supervisor it was a family emergency, and barely registered his concerned nod as I rushed toward the elevator. The drive took 18 minutes through downtown traffic that felt designed to test my sanity. Every red light stretched into eternity. I called her twice straight to voicemail both times, left messages saying I was coming, that she'd be okay, that I'd be there in minutes. My hands gripped the steering wheel tight enough to ache. Marriage is supposed to mean partnership, protection, and being there when it matters. 6 years together, through job changes and family deaths and the ordinary friction of building a life, this was what it meant. Showing up, being present, choosing each other when things got hard. St. Mary's emergency entrance appeared through my windshield like salvation. I parked haphazardly, half in a loading zone, and didn't care about tickets or towing. Burst through the automatic doors into fluorescent lighting and antiseptic smell, and the controlled chaos of a hospital emergency department on a weekday afternoon. The receptionist looked up as I approached her desk, slightly startled by my urgency. My wife, I said, breathing hard. Claire Cross. She called me, said she was here. Emergency room. Where is she? The woman's fingers moved across her keyboard with maddening slowness. Click, click, pause, scroll. Her expression shifted from professional concern to confusion. I don't see anyone by that name checked in today. Check again. Claire Cross CROSS. She called me 20 minutes ago from this hospital. More typing. Same result. She looked up at me with sympathy that felt like pity. Sir, I've checked our entire system. No, Claire Cross has not been admitted or checked in to the ER today. Are you sure? She said St. Mary's. My phone was already out. Pulling up recent calls, showing her the time. She called from here, specifically said St. Mary's emergency room. Crying. Said they were running tests. The receptionist's expression changed. Something flickered across her face that I couldn't quite read. Recognition maybe, or wariness. Let me check something else, she said quietly, typing with more purpose now. After a moment, she looked up. Sir, we did have a woman matching your wife's description check in about an hour ago, but she gave a different name. The floor shifted beneath me. What name? I can't disclose that without what name. She hesitated, glanced around, and lowered her voice. Sarah Mitchell. But sir, if someone checks in under a false name, there's usually a reason. Domestic situations, safety concerns. I stopped hearing her. Sarah Mitchell. Claire's maiden name was Mitchell. Sarah was her middle name that she never used, which only appeared on legal documents and our marriage license. She'd checked into the hospital under a fake name. My wife, who'd called me crying and panicked, who'd sent me racing across the city in terror, had deliberately used an alias. Is she still here? My voice came out flat, drained of the panic that had propelled me through traffic. She checked out about 10 minutes ago, signed herself out against medical advice. 10 minutes. I'd missed her by 10 minutes, which meant she'd called me, knowing I'd rush over, knowing exactly how long it would take me to get here, timing her departure to ensure we wouldn't cross paths. This wasn't an emergency. This was orchestration. I walked back to my car in a daze, my mind trying to assemble pieces that didn't want to fit together. Why would Claire fake a medical emergency? Why use an alias? Why time it so precisely that I'd arrive after she'd left? My phone buzzed a text from her. Sorry, they're running more tests. Might be a while. Don't worry about me. I'll call you when I know more. I stared at that message, at the casual lies wrapped in false reassurance. and felt something cold and sharp crystallize in my chest. She thought I was still sitting in that waiting room, thought I was worried and scared, and exactly where she wanted me. She had no idea I'd talked to the receptionist. No idea I knew about the fake name. No idea that whatever plan she'd set in motion had just revealed itself. I drove home slowly this time. No urgency. My mind working through possibilities with the same analytical precision I applied to financial forecasts. Claire had created a situation that would keep me away from home for hours, had ensured I'd be distracted, emotional, and not thinking clearly. The only question was why? What did she need me gone for? What was she doing while I sat panicked in a hospital waiting room? Our house appeared normal when I pulled into the driveway. Same neat lawn, same blue shutters, same welcome mat Claire had bought at a craft fair 2 years ago. I unlocked the front door, stepped into silence that felt different somehow. Charged, like the air before a storm. Everything looked untouched. Living room tidy, kitchen clean. No obvious signs of disturbance. But Claire's laptop was gone from the dining room table where she usually worked. Her favorite jacket is missing from the coat closet. The overnight bag we kept in the hall closet, the one we'd packed for quick weekend trips, also gone. And on the kitchen counter, barely noticeable unless you were looking, a printed document was face down. I picked it up, turned it over, and felt the world tilt sideways. Bank statement for our joint account, the one we'd built together over 6 years, where both our paychecks were deposited, where we saved for a house down payment and future children, and the life we'd planned. Except someone had handwritten notes in the margins. Account number, routing number, current balance, $127,000. And at the bottom, in Claire's handwriting, transfer limit, $25,000 per day. Will take 6 days total. She wasn't having a medical emergency. She was robbing me, systematically, patiently, and she'd needed me distracted and out of the house. While she initiated the first transfer, opened my banking app with hands that had started shaking, not from fear now, but from something darker. Logged into our joint account, checked recent activity. There it was. A transfer initiated 45 minutes ago. $25,000. Moved to an account I didn't recognize. Pending. Not yet complete. Still reversible if I acted fast enough. My wife had faked a medical crisis to steal our life savings. Had planned it carefully enough to use daily transfer limits, to time my absence, to cover her tracks with a hospital alibi. And she thought she'd gotten away with it. Thought I was still sitting at St. Mary's, worried and waiting, while she executed day one of a 6-day heist. But I was home, and I knew, and she had no idea. I pulled up the bank's customer service line, fingers moving with cold precision across the screen. Whatever Claire had started, I was about to finish it, just not the way she'd planned. The bank's fraud prevention specialist answered on the third ring. Her name was Monica. Professional and efficient, and she listened without interruption as I explained the situation. Unauthorized transfer from a joint account. Suspected fraud. Need to freeze everything immediately. She asked security questions: mother's maiden name, last 4 of my social, transaction history, and I answered each one with the mechanical precision of someone whose emotions had gone somewhere cold and distant. Mr. Cross, I'm showing that the transfer was initiated using verified login credentials. Both account holders have equal authorization. So technically, my wife is attempting to drain our account without my knowledge or consent. She faked a medical emergency to get me out of the house. I'm requesting an immediate freeze on all activity until we can sort this out legally. Pause. Keyboard clicking. I can place a temporary hold pending investigation. You'll need to file a formal dispute and potentially involve law enforcement if you believe this is theft. Do it. Freeze everything. Both of us. No transfers. No withdrawals. Nothing without in-person verification from both account holders. That will take effect immediately. The pending transfer will be cancelled. All cards will be temporarily suspended. You'll both need to come into a branch to resolve this. I thanked her, ended the call, and sat at our dining room table, staring at the bank statement Claire had left behind. Her handwriting in the margins confident, casual, presuming success. 6 days to drain the account, except she wouldn't get past day 1. The money was locked now, frozen. And she had no idea, until she tried to initiate tomorrow's transfer. My phone buzzed. Another text from Claire. Tests are taking forever. Probably won't be home until late. Ordered dinner without me. Love you. Love you. 2 words that used to mean everything. Now just camouflage for betrayal. I didn't respond. Let her think I was still worried. Still at the hospital. Still playing the role she'd assigned me in her little drama. I spent the next hour documenting everything. Screenshot of the cancelled transfer. Photos of the bank statement with her handwritten notes. Timeline of her phone call, the hospital visit, and the fake check-in under Sarah Mitchell. I sent it all to my personal email, backed it up to cloud storage, and created a folder labeled evidence that felt both ridiculous and necessary. Then I called the hospital back, asked to speak with the administration, not the emergency. I was transferred to a department head who listened with growing concern as I explained that someone had checked in under a false name, left against medical advice, and used that visit as cover for financial fraud. The woman's tone shifted from bureaucratic to alarmed. Using their facility for illegal activity, creating false records, they'd need to file a report. I said I understood, gave them my contact information, and emphasized that I wasn't blaming the hospital, but thought they should know. One more call. My brother Jake, a lawyer, divorced twice, is deeply cynical about marriage but fiercely loyal to family. He answered with his usual irreverent greeting. I cut through it, laid out what happened in 3 concise sentences. The line went quiet. She faked a hospital emergency to rob you. Yes. And you froze the account. Yes. Good. Don't touch anything else. Document everything she does from here. Every lie, every attempt to access that money, every conversation. You're going to need it. He paused. Danny, I'm sorry, but we're going to destroy her in court. I thanked him, hung up, and felt that cold precision settling deeper into my bones. This wasn't about anger anymore, or hurt, or the betrayal of someone I'd trusted completely. This was a strategy. Claire had played me, had weaponized my care for her, my instinct to protect her, turning my love into a tool for theft. She'd planned this carefully, so I'd respond carefully, methodically, with every advantage she didn't know I had. The front door opened at 8:47 p.m. Claire's key in the lock, her footsteps in the entryway, her voice calling out with false cheerfulness. Danny, I'm home. I was sitting in the living room, lights off, waiting. She walked in, stopped when she saw me, her expression cycling through surprise and confusion before landing on practiced concern. Hey, I thought you'd still be at work or getting dinner. The hospital finally cleared me, just dehydration, they said, gave me 4 fluids, and sent me home. She smiled, exhausted and relieved and utterly convincing. I'm sorry I scared you earlier. I didn't move, didn't speak, just watched her performance with the detached interest of someone observing a specimen. Her smile faltered. Are you okay? Did something happen? I went to the hospital. Claire, she blinked. What? I told you not to. You called me crying, said you were in the emergency room. I drove there as fast as I could. I kept my voice level, emotionless, stating facts. The receptionist couldn't find anyone named Claire cross-checked in. I watched her face carefully. The micro-expressions flicker too fast to fully mask. Panic, calculation, decision. She went with confusion. That's weird. Maybe they spelled it wrong in the system. Hospitals make mistakes all the time. They didn't make a mistake. Sarah Mitchell checked in, checked out about 30 minutes before I arrived. Direct hit, her face drained of color. She opened her mouth, closed it, and opened it again. I can explain. I'm sure you can. But first, let me explain something to you. I stood up slowly, walked to where she stood frozen in the doorway. Didn't raise my voice. Didn't need to. I found your notes. The bank statement, the account numbers. You plan to transfer $25,000 a day for 6 days. Danny, I called the bank, froze everything. Your transfer was cancelled. The account is locked, pending fraud investigation. Every penny we have is inaccessible until we both walk into a branch together, which we won't be doing. The mask dropped, not gradually all at once, like she'd decided to stop pretending. Her expression hardened into something I'd never seen before. Calculating. Cold. You had no right to freeze my money. Our money. Joint account. And I had every right to stop you from stealing it. It's not stealing if it's mine. Half of it is mine, which means you were planning to steal my half while lying to me about a medical emergency. That's fraud, Claire. That's theft. And you did it using a fake identity at a hospital. I stepped closer. Do you have any idea how many laws you broke in the last 6 hours? She stared at me, jaw tight, and I saw it clearly now, the calculation behind every expression. The performance we called a marriage. I need that money. For what? That's none of your business. It became my business when you tried to steal it from me. She turned away, paced to the window, arms crossed. When she spoke again, her voice was different, flat, true. I'm leaving you. I've been planning it for months. I found an apartment in Portland, new job lined up, new life, and I earned half that money, more than half. considering how much I've sacrificed for this marriage. Then you should have filed for divorce like an adult and split it legally. And give you time to hide assets, to drain accounts first. I've seen how you operate, Daniel. Everything calculated, everything controlled. I needed to move first. The projection was almost impressive, accusing me of the exact crime she'd been committing. So you faked a medical emergency. I needed you out of the house. I needed time to transfer the funds without you interfering. And the fake name, she shrugged. Insurance, in case you showed up. They wouldn't tell you anything about Sarah Mitchell. I stared at my wife's wife in everything but paperwork and marveled at the precision of her betrayal. The planning, the execution, the complete absence of guilt in her voice, as she explained how she'd weaponized my love for her. Here's what's going to happen, I said quietly. Tomorrow, you're going to move out. Pack whatever you want. I don't care. The house is in both our names, but you won't be living here. You can't. I absolutely can. You committed fraud, Claire. I have documentation, hospital records, bank statements with your handwriting, text messages where you lied about medical tests. If you fight me on this, I will press charges, criminal charges, and then your new job in Portland will disappear when they background check on you. Her face went white. You wouldn't try me. You spent months planning how to rob me. I spent 3 hours planning how to bury you. Guess which one of us is better at strategy? The silence stretched between us 6 years of marriage, collapsing into mutual recognition of how little we'd actually known each other. I'd thought I married someone kind, honest, worthy of trust. She'd thought she married someone she could manipulate, control, and steal from. We'd both been wrong. I want a divorce, she said finally. Clean, fast, fair split of assets. You'll get exactly what you're legally entitled to, not a penny more. And you'll be grateful I'm not pressing charges. She grabbed her jacket, her purse, and the overnight bag she'd packed for her hospital ruse, walked to the door, paused with her hand on the knob. I really did love you once. No, Claire. You loved what I could provide. You loved the stability, the joint account, the comfortable life. You never loved me. If you had, you wouldn't have been able to do this. She left without another word. The door closed behind her with a soft click that sounded like punctuation. I sat back down in the dark living room and felt nothing. Not grief, not relief. Just the cold satisfaction of having moved faster than she expected, of having protected what was mine, of having won a game I hadn't known we were playing until she'd already lost. My phone buzzed one last time. Text from Jake, called a colleague who specializes in divorce. She can see you tomorrow at 10. Bring everything you documented. We're going to make sure Claire regrets ever trying this. Texted back a simple thanks and sat in the silence of a house that suddenly felt too big and too empty and exactly the size of my new reality. Claire had tried to rob me. I'd stopped her, and tomorrow, I'd make sure she understood exactly what happens to people who mistake kindness for weakness. The money was frozen. The marriage was over, and I'd won before she even realized we were fighting. Sometimes, the best revenge is just being smarter. Divorce took 4 months to fight. Months where Claire tried every angle she could think of to get more than she deserved. She claimed emotional distress, argued she'd earned a larger share because she'd supported my career, demanded that I pay her legal fees on top of the settlement. Her lawyer sent aggressive letters full of threats and accusations, painting me as controlling, financially abusive, and cruel. They claimed the account freeze was retaliation, that I'd manipulated the situation, that she'd been the victim all along. My lawyer Jake's colleague, Maria, a sharp woman in her 50s who'd seen every trike, responded to each claim with documented facts, bank records showing equal contributions, evidence of the fake hospital visit, text messages proving premeditated fraud, the hospital's formal complaint about a false check-in, every lie Claire had told, time-stamped and preserved. The judge was not sympathetic to her narrative. We ended up with exactly the split. California law required a 50-50 division of assets, no alimony, no penalties. Claire got her half of the frozen account once the fraud investigation concluded, $63,500, that she'd tried to take entirely. She got half the equity in the house, which I bought out with a loan I'd prepared for months in advance. She got nothing extra, nothing for her emotional distress, her sacrifices, or her attempt to paint herself as the injured party. She moved to Portland like she'd planned, started her new job, built her new life with the money she'd earned, legitimately half of everything, nothing more. I heard through mutual friends that she told people I'd been controlling, that she'd escaped an oppressive marriage, that the divorce had been her liberation. Let her tell whatever story helped her sleep at night. The court records told the truth. I kept the house, refinanced to remove her name from everything, repainted the bedroom where we'd slept for 6 years. The color she'd chosen replaced with something that felt like starting over. Sold furniture that reminded me of her. Bought pieces that were mine alone. Created space that reflected who I was without her influence, without her presence, without the ghost of what I'd thought we were building together. The hardest part wasn't anger or grief, it was recalibrating my sense of judgment. I'd chosen Claire, had believed in her, had trusted her with access to everything I'd built, and she'd proven that trust meant nothing when weighed against her own plans. It made me question every decision, every relationship, every instinct I'd ever relied on. Jake told me that it was normal, that betrayal at that level rewires your threat detection, makes you hypervigilant, and teaches you that people aren't always who they claim to be. He also told me it fades with time, that not everyone is Claire, and that learning to trust again is part of healing. I wasn't sure I believed him, but I appreciated the attempt. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I went on a date. First one in 7 years. Terrifying and awkward and surprisingly normal. A woman named Rachel, who worked in tech, who paid for her own coffee, who didn't ask about my finances or my assets or anything except who I was as a person. Nothing came of it, no spark, no second date, but it proved I could still sit across from someone and have a conversation without calculating exit strategies. Small victories. I changed banks, closed the joint account that had been frozen during the divorce, the one that symbolized everything we'd built and lost. Opened new accounts in my name alone, with passwords Claire had never known. Security questions she couldn't guess. Kept better records. Monitored my credit. Became the paranoid version of myself that circumstances had created. But I also started rebuilding. Contributed more to retirement accounts now than I wasn't splitting everything. Saved aggressively for a real house, not the starter home we'd compromised on. Invested in things I cared about, hobbies Claire had dismissed. Trips she'd never wanted to take. The life I'd been living in the margins of our marriage. People asked if I regretted marrying her. If I wished, I could take back those 6 years, erase her from my history, and start over without the damage. The honest answer was complicated. I regretted trusting her more than I should have. I regretted missing signs that were probably visible if I'd been looking. I regretted the financial hit, the legal fees, and the months of stress. But I didn't regret learning what I learned. That love without verification is vulnerability. Joint accounts require joint integrity. People are capable of extraordinary selfishness when they believe they won't be caught. That moving first and moving smart beats moving emotionally. All lessons I'd rather not have needed, but couldn't unlearn now that I had them. Claire taught me that betrayal is a choice, carefully planned and deliberately executed. But she also taught me that I was capable of more strength than I'd known. That's when someone tries to destroy you, you don't have to let them. You can document, strategize, outmaneuver, and win not through cruelty, but through preparation and precision. She'd tried to rob me blind. I'd stopped her cold. She'd painted herself as the victim. The courts saw through it. She'd planned to take everything. She'd gotten exactly half and nothing more. That's not revenge in the dramatic sense. No destroyed reputation. No public humiliation. No petty victories. Just cold, strategic protection of what was mine. Just refusing to be the victim she'd tried to make me. Just being smarter, faster, and more prepared than she'd counted on. If you're going through something similar, if someone you trusted has shown you who they really are, document everything. Protect yourself legally before you protect yourself emotionally. Move with precision, not rage. And understand that the best revenge isn't making them suffer. It's making sure they don't win. Claire tried to rob me. I froze the funds. She tried to play victim in court. I had the receipts. She tried to take more than she deserved. She got exactly the minimum the law required. She's in Portland now, living her new life. I'm here, living mine. We'll never speak again, and I'm profoundly grateful for that. The money I saved by moving fast, that's $63,500. She tried to steal entirely is sitting in an investment account, growing steadily. The house she demanded half of is mine alone now, worth more every year. The life she thought she'd fund by draining our accounts is the life I'm building without her. And every time I check that balance, I remember the moment I froze those funds. The moment I stopped being the worried husband, rushing to her rescue, and became the strategist who saw through her game. The moment I chose to protect myself, instead of believing her lies. That's the story. That's the lesson. That's what happens when you try to rob someone. Smarter than you thought. You don't get to win just because you moved first. You get to lose when the other person moves better.